Hey, deserving listeners, 90 Day Fiancé. Let's watch.
That's what makes what happened last night very hard. And I feel really bad about it. So, it's just like really, I'm already really homesick.
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, even if this relationship were better, there would be a lot of stress and crying because of the culture shock, the change, the loss, the uncertainty. And then you add the conflict, and we have a lot of emotion, which makes sense. A lot of sadness, I'm guessing, a lot of pain.
This endless battle between us.
Hi, honey.
Hi, sweetie.
What's happening to you?
Nothing, my love.
Timmy.
Nothing. I was taking a shower.
No, you look like you're sad or crying.
Okay, so that's good. He noticed that she was crying. Her eyes looked like she had been crying. So he's trying to be caring, I think, trying to reach out to her. She's initially saying, I'm fine. And so he is, I think, inviting her to talk about this. That's a thing that we might use in our own lives, something to contemplate. There's two possibilities. One is Nicole might just be like, you know what? I was crying earlier and I just don't want to get into it. Can we just not today? Thanks for caring, but maybe I'll tell you later. It's not a big deal. Don't worry about it. You can certainly say that. Or she was hoping that he would be more inviting and that would give her a chance to open up and feel safe. Maybe she thought she didn't want to burden him or something. So let's see what she said.
So don't get sad, okay?
Okay. I'm just worried about us. You know, I just think I'm like homesick already. I don't have an apartment anymore in LA.
It's okay, my love. You have me now.
No, but like we fight.
Okay, so he's being kind, but there's a better way to listen, which is to validate. Almost everyone does this. Mahmood, everybody. Where we will have a loved one who is suffering, or even just a stranger. And the first response is almost always, to fix the problem or to point out the silver lining or to tell the person, look, if you just look at it this way, everything's fine. And if you've ever been in that position, which I'm sure you have, if you've been in Nicole's shoes where you have been talking about something that is difficult for you and you get a response like that. It's kind, it's well-intentioned, but it is invalidating. It's like she's talking about the stress. She's talking about how they're not getting along. That's true. She's talking about how she's homesick. That's true and natural. And he's like, everything's okay. I'm here. And for her, she could be like, well, yeah, but that doesn't change what I just said. And I just, it's one of the plagues of humanity or something. I don't know. It's so prevalent and it's so destructive and it causes people to shut down. It causes a ton of conflict. It causes people to, in Mahmood's position, to feel like you're not valuing, because the position for Mahmood is, but I thought you wanted to be here. You're probably crying because you don't want to be with me, and that hurts my feelings. And so why are you doing this to me? That kind of attitude. When, she can have her feelings and he could just validate it or listen. The key is if you don't know what to do, just listen. Just nod your head. The art of the nod, the silent nod, eye contact is not easy, not difficult to master. Can you just have eye contact and nod your head? You don't even have to really be listening, honestly. I'm a talker. I'm a yammerer. I'm sure my wife isn't listening to me or isn't hanging on every word. And she's a good nodder or a good starer. And sometimes that's what you need. As a therapist, I totally understand that. There are clients that will sit down and they just start yammering for 40 minutes and they're working stuff out. They're feeling things. They're checking in with themselves. And I might not be a huge part of that. I might be a huge part of that by having a corrective emotional experience with them. But sometimes people, they just need a chance to speak out loud. Anyway, so at the very least, just nod your head with eye contact. Quietly nod your head. At some point, the Nicoles of the world might actually say, well, what do you think about this? Then maybe offer an opinion. And if you do, the first thing I recommend saying is just validate. Just be like, well, I could see how you would feel that way, and I'm sad for you. That's it. You don't have to fix it. And then if you have advice, here's my advice to you. If you have advice, if you're in Mahmood's position, ask if the Nicoles of the world want your advice. Ask, because if it's no, then don't. But if it's maybe or yes or go ahead, then go ahead. So you say to the Nicoles of the world, so would you like my advice? I don't want to act like I can fix the problem, but I might have some suggestions. If the person's like, sure, then offer your advice. But if the answer is, nah, not really, that's not what I'm looking for, then don't do it. And don't just blast people with your advice. I get it. You're scared. You don't know what to do. Just nod. Quietly nod your head.
Right all the time. It's just like, I just hope we can figure it out. That's all.
Okay, my love. I will take care of that, okay?
To have
Yeah, so very quickly. So he goes, it's okay. I'm here. Well, it's not terrible. Pretty common thing. And then he says, okay, you just have to stop thinking that way. Which is another thing that people will do. They will use more words. It'll be more subtle, but they will do that too.
have nothing to return to. Now I have to make it work. And it's not like I don't want that. I did that intentionally. So we could try to be together and make it work, but it just feels weird. Like
I
it's
know,
just
my
like,
love.
it
I
feels
understand
like
you
a little
feel
death
like
or something.
something you love it to talk from you away. I can understand that, but we have to start our life.
Okay, so he started off okay. He said, I understand that. For you, you feel like you've given something away. But, another advice, just anytime the word but comes out of your mouth in a situation like this, or you're about to say the word but, pause for a second and think, is it necessary? Am I invalidating? Will the but clause negate the original clause of the sentence? Because if so, maybe don't do it. Because I understand, because essentially what he's saying, yeah, I know you have your feelings, but it negates everything, right?
Life. You know, I don't like when you cry, just
I know.
okay. Of course, I don't like Nicole be that sad. I hate that because how much I love her everything come. I'm like, oh my God, she will be. Maybe she's now think, oh, I should leave again.
Right. Yeah. So he's being open about his feelings, and it's a common thing. It's almost nearly universal, what he's saying right now. What he's saying is, for her to be sad means that she might not be happy long term, which will mean that she will leave me and I will be hurt and I will be a failure and my marriage will be over. Or at the very least, she'll be miserable and thus I'll be miserable or annoyed or something like that. Yeah, all those feelings are rational. They're okay to have. It makes sense. It means you care. It means you're invested in the relationship. The solution is not to shut people down. Imagine if this could work, that you could just take someone's pain and say, you know what, just stop that. Yeah, someone has cancer or chronic back pain. You know, just don't do that. Just stop thinking that way. It's not a thing. Now, are there attitudes and mindfulness techniques or focusing techniques, relaxation techniques that can help? Yeah, attitudinal techniques for sure. But it's not the time or place, and suffering is suffering. So, yeah, he's expressed. So, you know, she's going to leave again, and I hate it when she's sad. You know, another thing that people will misunderstand about this is they will think it's their fault and that they're failing. You know, for him, I don't know, he kind of seems to be leaning in this direction of, if my wife is crying, then I'm a failure as a husband. So how do I stop that? And if you have no other techniques and no other methods and no modeling from anyone, then your very quick shortcut answer is just stop it. I hate it when you cry. I mean, he's telling her, I don't want to ever see you cry for the rest of your life. So many people do this. So I feel like I'm very annoyed today. I'm generally not annoyed. I'm actually in a good mood, but I'm annoyed with this. It's just so prevalent. It's everywhere. It's in my office. It's at work. It's I see it in relationships. I see it on these shows. And so many things could be solved if people just knew not to do this. And it's based on so many mistruths and so many lies that are given to us by culture and generations and culture. So yeah, it's so, I guess I'm just sad for everyone that hardly anyone has a chance to just have an emotion and have another person just quietly nod their head.
Every time like we have fight, you always cry, you always sad. It's not good, like for you or me.
I think it's like fairly natural to have some tears once in a while.
I understand that, but like, I don't want this happening because it's only like the reason you left your life is to be with me. So I don't want to be the reason your life be sad.
Yeah, he's saying what I was saying earlier. That's fine. An analogy would be that you're driving a car and occasionally through your recklessness, you run people over. And then the people start to yell at you and they're like, hey, you ran me over, that hurts. And then you go to, hey, I need you to stop complaining because if you're hurt, if you keep talking about how much pain you're in, then that means that I'm to blame for that. And that means it's my fault. So I just need you to stop complaining and stop even having the pain. I mean, it's kind of a little bit of a stretch in terms of analogy, but it fits with me, what he's saying. But the other thing is, it'd also be like if you were driving your car and people were randomly hurting themselves and it had nothing to do with you. And you got out of your car and went up to them and said, I need you to stop acting like you're in pain and stop having your feelings because it could mean that I ran you over, which I don't need that to happen. So I just need you to shut up. Because what she's talking about is she just misses being home. That's fine. All he needs to do is nod his head.
Sometimes when like you have to let something go, it hurts a little.
But like,
tough.
You left all this for me. Not for like my mom or like you love Egypt. If I'm not here, you never be here, honey. This is why.
But I want to be here.
Yeah, so my love.
I chose to be here. And that's not like I'm blaming you for anything.
He keeps using the phrase, you came here for me. I think it's still in line with what I've been saying, but it also could mean I'm supposed to be the focus of your life. And now that you have me, you don't need anything else.
I did that.
Okay, my love.
To be with you. But don't feel like you're to blame.
And I will commend her. I was worried that she would get shut down, but she's holding to her differentiated state. There's not a lot of support there for her, but she's differentiated enough and mature enough to hold on to herself, hold on to her values, her understanding, and not be intimidated out of it. And she's speaking in a caring way. We could imagine another person on the show just exploding at Mahmood and losing control, and she's just calmly stating facts. It's okay to have emotion, and it's not your fault.
I don't understand why you doing this now.
Leave me the
What I did to you now? What I did? I want to
know what you
I don't know.
I don't want to talk to you.
So this is the beginning of the episode, and they didn't really lead up to this, so I don't think we know exactly what happened, but they've been fighting the entire time. This might be, I can't tell if this is a new fight or it's a continuation of the fight we saw earlier, because they're fighting all the time. They've both been crying. He's been adamant that she cover her head, that she wear traditional clothing. I've heard from other people from Egypt that will tell me that, yes, there is a conservative culture within Egypt that will follow those traditions, and there's a lot of other ways that people will be regarding gender and clothing and women. So it appears that he is within a more conservative, traditional lifestyle and culture. One of the things that I noticed was that, I don't know if he said it explicitly, but he basically indicated, and it makes sense, that he feels it's his job to change her, to make her into a proper Egyptian Muslim woman. And it kind of looks like if he were if they just went to the States, I'd be curious, like if they went to the United States, would he still be this way? I'm going to guess and say that he wouldn't. why would he marry an American otherwise, right? So, I mean, who knows? But I could sense in the surroundings, his system, his family, his church, his mosque, I guess, that there was this message of, you have to get her in line. There wasn't that explicit statement, but it's just pervasive in the culture. Everyone understands this. And he even said, it's my job to teach her. And it might have been very explicitly told to him that you have to keep your women in line. If they're not doing X, Y, and Z, it's your fault. You're not a real man. You're not a good husband. You're not a good man under God. They even had this ranking of, well, there's prayer and then there's clothing. Clothing isn't as important as prayer, but it's still very important. So it's all kind of in that category, right? You can't, I'm guessing, as an Egyptian Muslim man, say, you know what, I'm just not going to pray. And you know what, the Muslims in my Muslim family members, I'm just not going to, I don't bother with trying to oversee whether or not they're praying or not. It doesn't matter to me. I'm just going to take a guess and say that doesn't necessarily go over very well. It's your responsibility. You're head of the household. You have a job to do, and you're a failure in your culture's eyes, in your society's eyes, in your family's eyes, and maybe even under God. You are a failure as a human being. You are not serving God. So that could be informing, of course, his behavior, but it also seems like he's not that enthusiastic about it. He's very enthusiastic in a sense, but he doesn't seem to be, I don't know, I could see him feeling like he has to, but he doesn't really want to. So it'd be an interesting experiment if they came to the States, because all they do is fight about this. All they do is fight about her covering her head. All they do is fight about her. It's just that. They don't fight about her praying. They don't fight about the way she cooks. They don't fight about the way they talk to each other. I mean, I guess they do kind of, but they just fight about what she should wear. And so I've talked about it already. Of course, the sexism involved, controlling women, controlling their bodies, making it seem like it's their fault that men lust after them or even attack them, all that kind of stuff. And I don't want to accuse Egyptians. I don't want to accuse him or his family. I can't know, but there is a long tradition among a lot of cultures, including my own, along these lines. I mean, to this day, in the United States, in my culture, we still police men, and the power structure will police women's clothing in ways that are at least reminiscent of this anyway. So they're fighting, and she's now in the streets, and he's chasing after her. And I don't know, when we saw like Jovi and Yara, all they did was fight in the beginning. And I just thought, this is doomed. But then they're still together. So behind the scenes, they must have had a lot of bonding moments. In front of the camera, they have a lot of fighting moments. Because they do seem to have love for each other. There's a moment where they're both kind of lamenting maybe this is the end, or I don't know, I sensed both of them just deeply wanted the other person to love them. And they both burst out into tears, including him, in separate interviews. And so, I don't know, it's just such a shame, is it not? That all this fighting over something I can't relate to, let's just put it that way. Putting something over her head, who cares? What? But, I can't get out of my culture, I guess. Oh, okay. Because I was like, did we just continue? Okay, we're going to rewind the clock. I'm just going to take a guess and say that they fought about her covering her head. All right, well, that is it for that episode. Everyone, please take care of yourself because you deserve it. You really, really do.